Hey everyone, welcome back to more Path of Exile, and let me just say, what a week! The Exiles are close to being worthless, this league mechanic is all over the place, I'm still fighting the cold, but at least I've got a build today. And in this video we're gonna be doing the last Hollow Palm build of the league, a Consecrated Path Scion. And I'm actually very happy where this character ends because it was a ton of fun to play with. If you follow the channel for a while, you know that I did a Consecrated Path Chieftain back in Delirium as my first Hollow Palm build ever. It was a lot of fun, but it was unable to kill Sirus because I had a problem with the mana cost that I was unable to fix. However, unlike that character, this one does not have that problem, and I genuinely think that this Scion turned out even stronger than the Chieftain, and you'll see that from the gameplay that I've got in store today. Having said all of this, just a warning, this isn't Flicker Strike, but it has a very similar playstyle and behavior, and to be honest, I've built this with speed in mind, so it is going to resemble Flicker Strike in every single aspect, which means that if you're prone to seizures or other eyesight related problems, I think it's best that you don't give this one a shot. Up to you though. There are other quirks to this character and we'll get there in a bit, but first, as always, if you enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, otherwise a rating and a comment are always appreciated. And just like all the recent content over here, the video is timestamped for your viewing convenience. So with all of that said, go grab a gem and get ready to slam, or something like that. As it's tradition in the channel, the skill tree comes first, and we're actually gonna begin with the Lethal Pride. Yes, my character is generating rage while idle in the hideout, and it's thanks to this Lethal Pride with Warriors under Akoya. This version turns any keystone in range into Chain Breaker, which is going to replace mana regeneration rate with rage generation. It does have some downsides, like losing 5 rage when we hit an enemy, but we mostly use the rage for single target purposes like triggering Berserk. However, the seed or amount of Warriors under Akoya dictates what lesser bonuses appear under the passives inside the Lethal Pride's range. In my case, I've got increased strength, melee damage, and some fizz taken as fire. When you get your Lethal Pride, make sure that it gives you useful stuff under the notables inside the Jewel's range. Anyways, with that out of the way, for the Ascendancy we are both a Chieftain and a Raider, and we are gonna be taking Chieftain for the fire goodies, especially the chance to cover enemies on Ash, but also because we are gonna be taking the Marauder start. However, I'm sure that you can take the Ranger's start as well if you want to. And we're also a Raider for the Frenzies, Onslaught while Frenzies are up, and Speed. Moving on to the rest of the skill tree, this is a level 95 Scion, however I think that level 94 should be more than enough, but it all depends on your cluster jewels. Anyways, we sided with Eramir so that we could get more passives, for damage and stuff. And this skill tree is going to be very reminiscent of the other Hollow Palm builds that I've done, as we always end up going over the Ranger area grabbing Dexterity, Life, Dual Wielding, more Dexterity, more Life and stuff. You know, the usual. And we're also on the Marauder area grabbing life and stun immunity. However, this time we are gonna be taking fire conversion stuff above Unwavering Stance. Alongside Consecrated Path's natural 50% conversion, we deal 90% of our damage as fire and 10% as physical. Yes, this does bother me a bit since we are not 100% fire, but it's okay because the damage is still nuts. Though that does limit what map mods you can run, so keep that in mind. Besides the generic path choices that I took, we also take some life, attack speed and jewel sockets on the Scion starting area. Some more DPS, fortify and life on the duelist starting area, and 1 cluster jewel setup, or in this case 3 cluster jewels. Now, I know that to some of you cluster jewels are stupid because getting a 1-to-1 copy is kinda impossible, but don't worry because this time we are using rather inexpensive ones. The large cluster jewel with 8 passives at most has Drive the Destruction for Life Leech, Martial Prowess for some DPS, and Fuel the Fight which did not get allocated. This way we only spend 5 points on the large cluster. The first medium cluster has Lord of Rot for flame ability stuff and Evil Eye to blind cursed enemies. The other one has Heraldry to give nearby enemies fire exposure and Agent of Destruction to get some extra elemental damage, and we also use a one with nothing to get Hollow Palm technique, which is absolutely mandatory because that is the backbone of our character. Moving on to the rest of the jewels, we use a Watcher's Eye with physical damage as extra fire while affected by anger, and attack speed while affected by precision. If you cannot find a similar one, you can go with attack damage with precision and either increased fire damage or fire penetration with anger. And for the rare jewels, all of them have increased maximum life, some dexterity and DPS stuff. You know, attack speed, melee damage, etc. Some of them do have intelligence, so don't skip on that fact. And that's it for the skill tree, really. It's simple and effective. So now we are gonna move on to the other fun stuff, the gear. Before we begin with this section, remember that we are playing with hollow palm technique, which means no weapons, no gloves, and we need to stack a lot of dexterity to deal the big DPS. For the body armor, I am reusing the exploded chest from last time, and I know that someone out there just closed this video because I mentioned something expensive. But really, something like this is too good to pass up. This chest was crafted by slamming together increased dexterity and enemy skill explode, and the end result is this body armor that the character is wearing. If you find it difficult or expensive to acquire something similar, you can always go with a rare chest with just the exploding mod and you benchcraft increased attributes. You could also ditch the explosions altogether, but that leaves you vulnerable to undead effects, and since this character behaves like Flicker, we do tend to get in hairy situations from time to time, but if you can handle them, I won't stop you, but do keep that in mind. Anyways, for the helmet, we are back on pre-fall of 40th Path of Exile because we are using the Boros Devotion. Can you believe that? This helmet in 2020? Okay, with all seriousness, I am using the Boros because I found one for like 10c, and with a couple of divines I was able to hit the rolls that you see on screen right now. If you don't want to use the Boros, a Crown of the Inward Eye or a rare helmet are also good options, as long as they've got the Consecrated Path enchantment. Moving on to the amulet, it's the same amulet as the last few hollow palmers. Life, a metric shitton of dexterity and some resists. It also needs an open prefix to benchcraft mana cost, which is kinda mandatory. Anyways, try to cram as much dexterity as you can into this slot. And we anointed Panopticon because damage, that's it, the reason. Moving on, one of the rings is an onset ring, and again, this one is getting recycled. Life, dexterity and resists. And we benchcraft negative mana cost of skills. It has to be an onset ring because we are gonna allocate our movement skill on it, so don't sleep on that. The other ring has flame ability on hit, life, resists and dexterity. Funnily enough, mine was a delve ring as the curse is an underground mod. However, I got ballsy and slammed a Warlord Exalt from which I got the melee damage. That's not mandatory, but if you can do it, that'd be great. For the boots, we want as much life, resists, dexterity and movement speed as possible. And I am reusing the same boots from the previous character, but I got ballsy again and I slammed them with a Warlord Exalt and got Fizz as extra fire. And I would recommend doing the exact same thing if you can, for DPS purposes. Yeah? Okay. So for enchantments, elemental penetration is best, but movement speed is also good. For the belt, we use a synthesized one with increased dexterity as the implicit, and we craft it using Essences of Sorrow because dexterity does not spawn naturally on belts. And we're gonna keep spamming it until we hit life and resists. And finally, for flasks, a Wise Oak, a Lion's Roar and a Sirus Promise. And to wrap up the character, the gem setups. On the body armor we've got Consecrated Path linked to elemental damage with attack skills, Combustion, Fortify, Melee Fizz and Anomalous Ruthless. If you noticed, most of the gems are corrupted for level 21 with 20 quality. I recommend doing the exact same thing for DPS purposes, and if you can, use the Awakened gems as well. Also, Anomalous Ruthless gives us attack speed and that is better than the regular one. On the helmet, I level 1 Precision, Anger, Blood Rage and Herald of Ash. On the ring, Flame Dash. And on the boots, Vaal Ancestral Warchief, Phantasmal Ancestral Protector, Berserk and Blood and Sand. And with that, let's conclude this character. You have no idea how hyped I was to play this. The Boros Devotion in 2020, Exploded Chest, Pseudo Flicker with Area of Effect, Recycled Gear, I don't know, it was a ton of fun to play with. One of the things that really solidified this one was being able to kill Sirus unlike her predecessor from Delirium. The mana cost of skills plays a huge part in achieving this, so it is absolutely mandatory to get those crafted. Now I know, expensive build, difficult to acquire gems, unrealistic use of gear, etc. But you know what, it's been a month since the league started and Heist with all of its wackiness is very profitable to interact with. fighting endgame bosses is very profitable as well, or you know, playing the game efficiently is also very profitable. Yes, this character is like an 800 chaos investment. You know what? Probably more. Yeah, definitely more. But I built my characters with my playstyle and my skill level in mind. If you are more skilled than me, you can ditch certain things like the exploded chest and chunk at least 50% of the build's cost. You can attempt self-crafting everything else and you'll chunk another portion of the cost. But that is up to you. I am giving you a template that you can either follow to a T or experiment with. And this is how I build my characters. Are there other more efficient ways to do so? Probably. Do I need to build my characters that way? No. If I'm seeing success with what I do and I'm having fun with it, I'll make a guide and post it, regardless of how expensive or grindy the character ends up being. And I mention all of this because the Cyclone Circle made some people very upset, and I find it mind-boggling that in a game like Path of Exile, where your creativity is pretty much the only limiting factor in regards to build making, some people want to standardize things and getting quirky or doing something different is like illegal. But then again, the fun police is always out there, ready to slap people on the wrist for the smallest of things. I know that the conclusion had little to do with the character, but you're seeing how fun she is, so give it a shot, if you can. And with that, I am done for today. Thank you so much for watching, remember to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care, have a nice weekend, and peace out.
The others found strength in their projections. They became reliant on them. I am not so foolish. Die. Be silent. Die.
Cosmos. You are nothing.
Is life really interesting enough to warrant all this pain? Die.
This is gold.
Die.
Why run? What's the point? Why resist? Glorious flames!
I am alive.
Everlasting fire!
Feel the thrill of
The void!
the